Oh, yeah. Woo-hoo. What's happening, everybody? It is another night, Thursday, here in the beautiful city of Baltimore. Well, I'm really in the suburbs. And we're here it's another night of cigars and coffee. All right, so what are we doing? You know, I got to check something here. Look at this. All this time, still making mistakes. Did that work? Look at this picture here. I can't get it to show any large. Whoa, did that work? I don't know if that's working. Is that working? Oh, yeah, it looks like. This is a message from my brother who sent me a message that said, this is the Highs, which is a local gas station down the street, and guns are drawn. It's kind of crazy out here. So I don't know what's going on there, but crazy. That's what's happened. But as you can see, it's kind of got this, we got a little bit of fog, some kind of misty rain going on here, and it's probably about 60 degrees. No, 50 something degrees. It's interesting because, like, if we had 50, let's say 51 degrees, right? If we had 51 degrees, like in September, it'd be bitterly cold, like it'd be freezing. But right now, it's like, oh, I'm going to put on my t-shirt and go outside. You know, it's pretty crazy. Now, here's George. What's up, George? How you doing, man? Greetings. Can't hear what you say. Yes, we'll be getting definitely into the Le Patissier, which is our cigar tonight. We've got the Crowned Heads Le Patissier, as well as the Kirundo Burundi from Mono Roasters in Saudi Arabia. So thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you being here. My name is Jay, and we're here every Thursday night if you're just tuning in, 8 p.m. Eastern time to talk coffee and cigars. You know, that's what we do. All right, so we're not going to take too long to get into it. We're going to get right into the whole thing and start with the, oh, darn it. I got to run away for a moment. Sorry about that. We're taking freshly ground coffee to an extreme. I kind of forgot to grind the coffee. I left it on the scale. So here we are. We've got the Burundi. Oh. The Burundi. This is roasted by a friend of ours, Fatin, in Saudi Arabia, and really nice. So we're here. It's kind of got an earthy brightness to it on the fragrance. All right. Today, so Fatin asked me before I left Saudi Arabia, she's like, can you give me some feedback on my coffees? And I was like, yeah, I'm very happy to. So like last week, we used the Rattlewear cupping brewer. Because we used it for last week's coffees, we have 3 coffees from her. I'm going to do them all with this brewer so that we have some consistent results. All right, so as you can see, it's a pretty coarse grind. We're going to put that into the brewer. Again, as always, we're using 24 grams with 350 grams of water. We're going to do a 4-minute timer. Whoops. 4 minutes. Four. Really, I should get some kind of there we go, better. Oh, thanks, George. All right, here we are. We're going to add our water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit, get the bloom going, and then we'll Oh, actually, we should just do it all in one. We did all one pass last week, right? So let's just do all in one pass. It's because it's like cupping. That's right. Oh, probably messed it up already. That's all right. That's all right. So 4 minutes of rolling. And Rusty says they just closed the school for tomorrow and feel the storm. So there's a storm there too. I really haven't been paying attention to the weather or much of the news. Well, actually, I kind of briefly logged on to BBC World maybe about 2 hours ago and saw that we killed someone in Syria, and some ISIS leader. Not sure why. He must have upset someone. And then what else are they talking about? They were talking about, I don't know. Oh, book banning books and stuff like that. So, yeah, who knows? And there's Mark. How you doing today, Mark? We are brewing the Kirundo Burundi from Mono Roasters in Saudi Arabia in the Rattlewear Brewer. Yeah. This is an interesting. So it's actually if you didn't happen to catch it last week, this is actually a method that Rattlewear created so that you could make a coffee that's very similar to cupping. That would be, oh, darn it. I forgot something else. I need to make a list. Right before I got on here, I was actually watching a video about this other YouTuber named Mr. Beast. This guy, Jimmy, who's from South Carolina or North Carolina. And he was just being interviewed by this other two YouTubers, Colin and Samir. And his story is quite interesting. So I was kind of caught up in that. And so I kind of missed a couple of things. What I really needed was a spoon, but I didn't get the cupping spoons were actually a bit far for me to run. So otherwise, so I just grabbed the bar spoon from the bar. George says, hey, last week you started the timer after you poured the water. Yeah, a couple seconds here and there won't be too bad, I guess. Freezing rain tonight. It's supposed to be cold in the morning. Oh, wow, man. Craziness. Yeah, I know. Live bloopers. That's and I actually had it all set up nicely for the last couple hours. Like sometimes I'm setting up in the last half an hour. It's really kind of crazy. All right, we're coming down to the last 45 seconds. I've been working on a bit of video. So I've been working on a video that I did about. So we released a video last month about Armenian coffee with Steve the Dudaklian from Beto's Leatherworks. And it's actually a much larger event, meaning that I was there for most of the day, hanging out with him, watching his operations, learning about what he's doing, making coffee, smoking cigars, and drinking the coffee. And we talked about all kinds of stuff. And so it was enough for really 2 more videos. So I've got the second one finished and getting to be released. And then the third one is going to be slated for March. All right. So there is a nice warm, like diatomaceous earth kind of aroma from the wet with a little bit of sweetness on the nose, kind of like a fermenty sweetness. Interesting. All right, then we're going to break it. Well, it's not really doing much of anything. A lot of it's already falling. So as you can see, there it is falling down there. So we're going to let that fall. Hopefully we don't need to skim too much, but let's see. Do we need to skim much from the top? So George, the other day, Brian called me up and he's like, "Hey man, this Imperial Jade, is it from La Galera?" And I was like, "I don't think so." And he said, "But do you want one?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll definitely take some." So he bought one, the 44 ring gauge, and we smoked it the other night. And you know what? I don't know what it is, but that Toro you gave us, that was just immense. Actually, the first thing I was like, I noticed on the band it says La Galera, right? Here it is. La Galera. Okay, there it is. You can see it's La Galera. And I was thinking, I don't remember the other cigars saying La Galera, but I still have the torpedo here. So I actually grabbed it today and I was looking at it. I was like, oh, it does say La Galera. Okay. So it didn't have the rich smoothness that I remember from the Toros. Like the two Toros that I have, they were just sublime smokes. The 44 ring gauge, it didn't have that richness, and then it was a little bit sharper on towards the end, and so a little bit, it wasn't the same experience. A little bit disappointed in it, but I'm looking forward to more Toros when we get some. Anyway, so there's the coffee. We're going to put the plunger in. Right, we'll continue with the lighting. Ooh, let's get rid of that. We're going to decant. Now, again, like we talked about last week, the thing about the Rattlewear is that it does keep some of the coffee here in the lower chamber. So you lose a bit of the volume, right? Yeah, it's pretty thick. But I can see it from my end. There's a little bit here, or you can see it. There you go. So there could be some more coffee that you could salvage out of it if you wanted to, do that kind of thing. All right, let's see here. We've got our coffee. Looks a little bit nice. I'll pour it into our cup. Mark wants to know, have I used this brew device with a coffee I know well? No, probably not. I mean, I've used it a couple times. I haven't really used it a lot. If I really want to critically taste coffees, like in a normal setting, I'll just set up a cupping. I think it's just as easy, or in some ways maybe a little bit easier than using the brewer. I just thought it was an interesting brewer to buy when it came out. And it actually came out, I think, in 2018. This has got a more of like a chalky dryness to it, earthiness. There is sweetness to it. George says it looks like tea. Yeah, but I think also one thing to keep in mind is that when you're dealing with like these lights and like lighting your coffee, even like darker roasted coffees or darker brewed coffees will tend to turn out a little bit on the lighter looking. It looks lighter when you put a heavy light on it. So it's just kind of more for effect. Actually, what I really have always disliked about coffee as an ingredient, because I've tried to use it in many different concoctions and stuff, is that it's the brown that just drives me insane. So like one of the experiments we were trying to do several years ago was, how do we make coffee ice cream that tastes exactly like coffee? And more importantly, it tastes to the terroir, meaning that I wanted to make coffee ice creams that had the actual flavor of the farm that it came from, meaning that we talk so much about single origin coffees and the differences between single origins. I wanted to make it so that we could have a coffee ice cream that could be single origin, right? So if you tasted this coffee ice cream with this coffee ice cream, you could tell the difference because it would be very apparent. That was one goal. The second goal, and then actually to me, in my mind, it's really the more important goal, was how do we do that? Give it the flavor of coffee into the ice cream and it not be brown. This brown of coffee is like the bane of my coffee existence because it's just kind of ugly and it makes everything ugly. I know I'm probably sacrilege within industry circle for saying that, but that's really been my feeling since, for well over 10, 12 years now. George says, with the Imperial Jade, new sizes might mean different flavors, but I promise. Oh, excellent. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I was thinking. Is like these other sizes, maybe they're just different, or just maybe different components. Not enough of the other ones. I wasn't too put off by it, but I was just kind of like, because I do realize there's a difference in the size. All right, that's kind of nice and juicy, kind of like a orange character to it. That's kind of interesting. All right, now time to move on. We're gonna move pretty fast. Moving pretty fast. Now we're gonna go to our cigar of the day. Cigar of the day comes again from the tobacco leaf. So if you need coffee cigars, go visit Roll. This is the Le Patissier from Crowned Heads. Cost about $11, I think. That's how much it cost me. As always, just to reiterate, we do buy our own cigars here. We don't. Well, normally, we're happy to take cigars, but for most of the cigars, we do try to purchase our own so that it's always, This is the Le Patissier. It's in its wrapper, so we're going to take it out of the cello. So from what I was reading, the Le Patissier debuted at the PCA show 2021 back in July. I guess it was held in July. And it was only available for retailers that go to the show. What else do they have to say about it? Now it's, of course, Le Patissier means pastry chef. It's a 6.5 by 44 Lonsdale with Connecticut broadleaf wrapper and over a binder from Jalapa, Nicaragua, and fillers from Costa Rica and the Ometepe and Pueblo regions. Pueblo Nuevo, according to our friends at Half Wheel. And it's actually kind of a nice, that 6.5 is a nice length. Look at that. I kind of dig it. Now it feels nice and kind of oily. Not oily, but just kind of that nice supple, that kind of like that moisture. When you have a leather that's nice and moist, maybe like the impregnated leathers, that's kind of how it feels on the tips. Mark says his coffee is ruby dark red. Yes, gotcha. Actually, it does have a band. There's a small band at the foot, a little ribbon at the foot. You kind of see that. It's so kind of classic, not too much drum. So, some brands have like 12 different bands. You got to tear it off. And actually, maybe that's what they should do. They should do one band for every third so that as you reach the third, you can take it off and, do your thing. So we'll take that off. Lightly manure, nice kind of sweet manure. Actually, it's kind of exciting. All right, let me get the score sheet because we're going to score up our stuff here. I'm going to say we got a nice chocolatey colored wrapper here, right? Okay, so this actually makes it look lighter than it is. Well, is that how it really looks? I guess it does, yeah. Yeah, so it's a little bit more chocolate, like cocoa colored. I kind of dig that. Let's put that here. So I think that's really, really pleasant. It's the aroma, the fragrance is very attractive. Like super attractive. All right, so let's do the cutting. Like just the fragrance alone, I would say is like a very good, like really, really exciting, like enticing. All right, let's do the cutting. The bourbon. Can we see? Can we see? All right, so here is the cap there. You can kind of see the cap. You know, on my screen, it looks pretty crisp at times. Like you can, like I can sort of see the detail in this one. Let's turn the light onto it. But I wonder, does it come off as crisp in detail? First, he said, just finished brewing my last of Monarch from onocoffee. Excellent. Excellent. Good evening. Good evening. Oh, the bakery shop, huh? Interesting. Now my question is, will my commentary be colored by what I can definitely see some brown sugar notes on it. The draw is nice and tight. Like it's not too tight so that you're stuck on it, but just nice and snug, like snug. Tony's drinking a Diet Cherry Pepsi. That's not dark ruby and red. And it went to the second, third. Oh, you're already into it. So how's it going there, Tony? How's the smoke coming along? George says he's drinking the Force Roses Select. Excellent. Mark's been enjoying some of the Onyx Costa Rica. And Brian Karen, gin from the freezer. No, that's not weird. That's not weird at all. All right, so I would say, man, I would say that's kind of excellent. I mean, the flavors and the fragrance and the cold draw. The fragrance is really pretty. Cold draw is snug, so it's I wouldn't. So I'm just going to say it's excellent. So we're just going to say 8. And then Town to Light. Oh, George, how you doing? George has a large goblet of red wine with my father. You're not outside again, are you, George? Or I guess you could be outside because it's fairly pleasant. Oh, that was disappointing. Okay, that's going to be a problem. Yeah, my friend, you definitely need to get one of these. I really should be farther, shouldn't I? All right. Oh, and George is outside in shorts. Excellent. I love it. And Tony Cigar, he's got the Le Patissier. He says, flawless construction, great flavor so far, and my favorite size. What's not to like? Excellent. Yeah, actually, there's a nice kind of, or maybe that's from my matches. But I was going to say, there's a nice woody kind of burning wood aromatic that's coming. Maybe it's not from the cigar. It's from the wooden matches. Lonsdales are fantastic. So few. They really are nice, Lonsdales overall. It's too bad they don't have as much following, especially with the whole like everybody wants a 6x60 experience. Nice cacao notes, like dark chocolate. The I don't know how you guys are how it's going for you guys, but on my particular example, the draw is a little bit of a tighter side. Not too tight that you're really sucking hard, but definitely snug. Like you can feel the snugness. I'm feeling a little bit of like softness right here, right where these three fingers are. So how's you guys' week been? Mine's been all right, I think. All right. I can't believe it's already Thursday. Seems that it flew by. So we had Chinese New Year's the other day. It was the Lunar New Year has begun, and went and had a Chinese spread, so that was really nice. Also went down on Monday to visit my friend's new taqueria. He opened a place called Be More Taqueria on Eastern Avenue, right by Broadway, not too far, a couple blocks away from Broadway. Really, really great. Like it's difficult to find the kind of taco joint that I really like. I like more central Mexican type of Mexican food. So this guy, Valentino, he makes this type of food, and it's also excellent. So there's a growing number of shops now in Baltimore that actually serve what I think is really, really great quality Mexican. There's now Be More Taqueria. Just a few blocks away on Broadway is a place called, what is it called? Cocina Luchadoras. That's a really nice, they do a really nice job. If you go to Cocina Luchadoras, they make these tortas, and the tortas, man, they're like some of the largest I've ever seen anywhere. Like they're massive. Like to eat the chilaquiles torta is just not a good idea. It's just too much. It's just much, much too much. And then, of course, my old favorite is a place called Fiesta Mexicana in Rosedale. And I think of those three, those have like the truly classic flavors of Mexico for me that I really like. I'm not so much into the norteño or Tex-Mex kind of Mexican. There's some places like I'll go to El Salto, which is this one restaurant kind of Tex-Mex every once in a while because I just want a taste of their chile relleno, and that's all I'll buy. They have a nice thing. They offer a side order of one chile relleno. So basically I just order the one all by itself, no sides, and just grab, they give you like tortilla chips, and they're warm and they're kind of fun to eat. So the chile relleno and the tea and the tortilla chips, that's perfect meal. That's a great meal. Richie says, the main reason why I love this coffee and cigar show is that I only have one more day of work out. And happily tonight, you don't have any more work at all tomorrow. George says, I had a Southern Draw Lonsdale recently. I don't remember if it was called the Lady Killer, though. Oh, that was in refer to Tony's comment about the Southern Draw Lady Killer. I've only had the kudzu from those guys, but it was pretty good, I remember. Oh, I'm glad. Nice to see that. No, thank you, Brian. Oh, speaking of which, Brian, I'm finished with your mug, so I'll give that back to you straight away. I'm just going to repack it into its packaging and make it look nice again. But that video is finally done and will be released this weekend. It comes out, is it Monday or Saturday or Monday? It comes out. And George says, I grab Lonsdales whenever I find them. Oh, the Willie Herrera, yeah, that's the Esteli. That's a nice one. Mm-hmm. That LCA Vintage 21 that we had a few weeks back, a month ago, that was good. Oh, thank you, George. That's very nice. That's very nice. And Tony agrees with the Herreras. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. I've been juggling around the scheduling of the different videos, so it's like, oh, I don't really remember. Like, I ended up shooting one today and releasing it today on the Spro Coffee channel because I haven't put out a video on that channel in probably 2 months. I was like, oh, I better go do something. And I happened to come across this glitch in the temperature tracking software as I was roasting today. And it was this kind of strange thing where as the curve was happening, suddenly you started getting this like EKG looking section. And as it was drawing the EKG part, I was looking at it, I was like, well, that's a problem. Now it's a problem only if you're the kind of roaster that really relies upon your technology to hold. I mean, to roast. Like if you don't really understand roasting, other than watching the curve and like the numbers, it could be a problem, especially if it really goes haywire and loses connection or does some really drastic. But as I saw it happen, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I was like, oh, I didn't really worry about it because I understand how to roast without any technology. So it was an interesting thing. And so I kind of made a little video about that and like to really encourage the viewers that are interested in roasting to really learn how to really work on their roasting without relying upon the technology. George says, speaking of weekly releases, have you been watching The Mandalorian Season 2, commonly known as the Boba Fett? Well, you know what? I haven't seen Boba Fett in 2 episodes now. Like, where is he? Then we just had the last episode with, can I talk about this? You guys mind talking about The Mandalorian? But, we had last week was all about Mandalorian, which is great. Like, it's good to see Mando back doing his thing. I'm happy to see him. Happy to like see what he's up to. Going to that ship and like, battling it out with his for the sword. Although so this week we didn't see the sword. We barely saw, but did we see Boba? I don't think we saw Boba. We saw Timothy Oliphant, which is always nice to see. And they kind of left it, what's his name? Happy from, Tony Stark's bodyguard, John. He kind of left it, in the hang. Like Timothy Oliphant's character, the marshal gets shot, kind of looks like on the shoulder, and he falls down, and he's like all out. Like, did they just kill him? I don't think they just killed him. George says the best episodes both have been the 2. But I'm actually enjoying. Like, I get what you're saying. It's nice because we've had so much connection to Mandalorian, right? To Din Djarin, that we want to know what happened to him, and I do. But like, maybe you don't feel the same way, but I have been enjoying this backstory, or is it even a backstory? Because this is all after Star Wars, after he fell into the Sarlacc pit. So it's not really a backstory anymore. It's kind of like his continuation. I'm enjoying all of that. Like, I like to see, I'm interested to see what happens to Boba. Like, you just always, like in the movie, after Empire, you just thought he was dead. That was it. He fell into the Sarlacc pit. He's done. The Beskar protected him from the bile of the Sarlacc, which sounds to me to be kind of like, because, the Beskar is like the plates, right? And then as you see on all of them, they have something between the plates. Well, what is that? Woven Beskar? Is the fabric like Beskar, like thread? So I presume that it's not. And so like, how come the bile didn't dissolve Boba? I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm a big fan of Temuera Morrison ever since he was Jake the Muss Heke in the movie Once Were Warriors. If you haven't seen that, go see that. Whenever people ask me, they're like, what's your favorite movie? Once Were Warriors, 1992 or 1991. It is a great movie on its own, but it is the movie that made Temuera Morrison into an international star. He is so bad to the bone in that movie. You're like, holy smokes. Like it's not a he's not a lovable character necessarily, but his performance is so like solid. Solid. You should definitely go check it out. Young Ma, how are you, man? How's it going? How's your cigar smoking? Any progress this week? How's things in New York? Good. George wants less boba, more. But here's the thing. So they're going to have Mandalorian season 3 after Boba Fett. So don't worry, it's coming. Don't worry. Brian says we saw him when they asked for help in putting together an army. Oh yes, you're right. We did see him, but he was so short. Like I do want, me personally, I want to see more Boba Fett. Maybe that's because I'm a fan of Tamora Morrison and Ming-Na Wen. Like Ming-Na, I'm all about her. I'm okay with that. Actually, years ago, like in the early 90s, we went to her mom's restaurant. So Ming-Na is actually from Pittsburgh. And her parents, I think they've sold it or it's closed. But her parents owned a Chinese restaurant for many, many years. So one of my really good friends, she lives in Pittsburgh. And she used to go to the restaurant all the time. And so when we went there that one year, she took us to that restaurant. We're like, oh, this is Ming-Na's restaurant. That's pretty cool. Yes, more fennec is always a good thing. Yeah, I see what you're saying, filling in the blanks, but I think that I'm okay with filling in the blanks. What I'm kind of like not so into, to be honest with you, is all this Luke. Like I'm tired of Luke. All right, I'm tired of Luke. And look at Luke, right? Luke is in this show, right? He's with the young like Grogu, who, by the way, which is still, this is the part that really kind of perplexes me about this Grogu kid, right? He's a kid. He's Grogu. He's 50 years old. So he's pretty much the same age as a lot of us and older than some of us, right? 50 years. He can't do anything. He's 50 years old. He's been a burden for 50 years. Can you imagine? Those of you who have kids, can you imagine? Like you're finally like the infancy years are difficult, right? I imagine they're difficult because you got to take care of the kid. They can't really do anything. But by 3, 4, by 5, 6, 7, definitely by 8, the kids are kind of like, they're not on their own, but they're kind of like their own person. They're walking around, they're doing their thing. They're telling you, they're rolling their eyes at you, giving you a lot of attitude and ready to go forge their own way in the world, right? Can you imagine 50 years of having to take care of an infant? That's craziness. So, and I get it. Like Yoda said, for 900 years I trained Jedi. Yeah. I get that. But still, how long? When does Grogu actually really get to do his thing and be on his own? I mean, 100, 150, 200 years? But anyway, so going back, so that's really not the big thing. But like for me, it's like, here's Luke. We know where Luke is going now. Like we know Luke is going to just F everything up. He's going to wipe out the Jedi. He's going to do all the wrong moves. He's going to, take Luke and Han and Leia's son and just mess him up royally. He's going to wipe out the Jedi Order. He's going to then like pout and run away and live on this island where he creates a holographic map that he removes the part and puts in an R2 and so puts the part of an R2 and so you know what's happening. Right? We know what's coming. We know that Luke has just flushed the Jedi Order down in the toilet. Why do we want to see him like? And look at him. He's wearing all black. This is the most simple color scheme in movies, right? Luke, Leia, all white, right? Luke has that like kind of like whitey, like off cream colored when he's on Tatooine, but it's white. Leia, pure white. So they're all good, right? What's his name? Ben Kenobi, white, but with a little bit of brown, but still good. Han Solo, half and half, right? Black and white. Then we get to Tarkin and the rest, grays, right? even the stormtroopers, you could say, are like kind of innocent because they're all white. They're actually just pawns, right? And they can't kill anyone. Like how in the world these guys who run the empire manage to hold and control the empire with guys that can't shoot straight? I have no idea how that really works. The guys in that fan show, the trooper, you know, the one where they were like they made that, you must have seen it. Anyway, those guys are more tough than most everyone we've seen in the Star Wars movies. But now, and then Vader, of course, all black, like he's pure evil, So Empire ends. There's Luke. He's all black. He has turned to the dark side. He is a dark side. He's the dark side of the Force, right? The coloration is clear. It's black and white. And so here he's black again. I don't know. I'm just not. I've never been a big Luke fan, even when I was young. Like I was never a big fan. The CGI, imaging of Hamill. You know, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I thought that I didn't think it wasn't as unnatural as Leia in at the end of the one where everybody dies with Jyn Erso. Like that really looked terrible. Grand Moff Tarkin later, that looked kind of rough. Luke looks not bad. Not it's improving. It's improving. I think my guess is that for the live action sequences, they probably did like the deep fake thing. Like if you ever see that deep fake, like if you go to TikTok and you punch in like the real Tom Cruise, man, that is some really great deep faking. Like it looks super like you're like, whoa, Tom Cruise is a cool guy. Like I want to go hang out with him. I want to follow him. I want to subscribe to his channel. George, there it is, George. They have bought it over post Hamill's face. You guys, so does Sebastian Stan really look like young Mark Hamill? I never thought about that. I wonder. Yeah, I'll have to look that up. Let's see. Oh my gosh. There's people have been totally, what do you call it? Oops. They've been totally, people totally have been talking about this. Wow. Wow, I had no idea. That's amazing. That's amazing. I only think of it as the Winter Soldier. All right, there must be a better. Wait, this is Sebastian. Oh yeah, I guess that is Sebastian Stan. Huh? Look at that. Oh yeah, that. Yeah, look at that. Oh wow. Wow. Okay. I had no. Wow. That's something else. That's something else. So how's the cigar? Cigar's going well. It's tight. Like for me, it's tight. But the flavor has been very nice. Very good flavor. Oh, good point. Winter Soldier has a cyborg arm, just like Luke's. And it's the same arm, right? It's the right arm. Oh. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about this. There's too much Luke. I think I would have enjoyed seeing Sebastian Stan as Luke. That would have been interesting. But I wonder, like, did they really just did they just prefer to use Mark Hamill's voice? So him voice acting because he's still around. And maybe Mark needs the money more than Sebastian, right? Because Sebastian has all the Marvel movies and he's going to be doing more. Where Luke, gosh, after Mark played Luke, that was the end of it for him. He was kind of like you don't really you never saw him anything. Like he played that weird character in one of those Bill and Ted, not Bill and Ted, but the View Askew thing, the Kevin Smith movie. Oh, George says they think Winter Soldier has the left arm replaced. We should look at that. Winter Soldier. Oh, you're right. It is the left. Ah. And the fanboys. Yeah. Oh, so let's see. Show Boba Fett. Oh, yeah. So I was telling you about Temuera, right? So Jake. Oof. There it is. Jake the Mush. So this is Temuera Morrison. This is the guy who plays Boba Fett. Right when he became like well known, like he was so like buff and like he beat the crap out of people in this movie. Like he was just a badass. And the funny thing is that people in New Zealand, when they announced that he was playing this character, and this is Once a War is a very famous novel in New Zealand that discusses the situation of a family living in council estates in Auckland, a Maori family. And Jake's character in the book is very violent and very tough and very much, criminal. And Temuera Morrison, to that point, was on this thing called Shortland Street, which is one of New Zealand's most popular soap operas. And he played this kind of funny and lovable doctor on the show. And when they announced that he was going to play Jake, a lot of people were like, they were kind of like, no, they didn't want him. They didn't think he could do it. And powerful. It was a very powerful role. George says Ham was a very successful voice actor. Oh, okay. See his work as Joker and I think I've heard of that. He was in Kingsman. Who was he in Kingsman? I don't recall that. Hamill. Kingdom Hearts. Kingsman. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's right. I forgot that. Actually, there he could pass like for what's his name, for Elton John. Mark Hamill could have played Elton John instead of the other guy from the Kingsmen. He could have been Cad Bane, absolutely. So I'm enjoying this overall. I'm not really getting a lot of crazy flavors. Let's have a look at what some of the guys are saying online about it. So like it says here, made it Tabacalera Pichardo and Esteli, inspired by the La Carême. Why was it inspired by? Cigar's name was inspired by the French chef Marie-Antoine Carême, while both use Patissier is an amazing expression of Connecticut broadleaf that exudes a unique combination of complexity, finesse, and balance. We produce broadleaf blend with the 3 other factories at this point. However, Patissier brings a different dimension to the profile that makes it stand on its own. Which reminds me of a question. So, George, since you're here, and like we were talking about this maybe a couple months back, Davidoff has their chef series. And then they'd have these chefs that that put their name to the release. How involved are they? And is it just a, because our understanding is that the blend that they release is actually some kind of unified blend that all the three different chefs have like contributed to, or how do they really, any ideas on how they really do that? Because this whole thing with the Patissier and the Le Crème just kind of reminds you of that. So I'm just kind of wondering. When we approach to do a PCA 2021's exclusive, something special to the show. Oh yeah, we already talked about that. 1050 cigar boxes of 20. Oh, it came out last year. Oh no, well yeah, last year. The past one was the, I'm thinking, never mind. So it's so far, nice. For me, it's nice. It's not like an explosion. It's not an explosion. The Davidoff Chef series, meh, I was disappointed. Yeah, I mean, the price point that you had talked about was pretty pricey. And, I would think that if we had like a particular chef attached to a cigar, we'd want to really have a cigar that was their interpretation to see, what this says. So George says, depends on the chef. They usually were the Davidoff team, sampling for the factory and submitting their own briefs on pairing and flavors. Like I would be interested to see, like if I would hope that I will. It would. I think it'd be nice if the chefs actually really got down and dirty and created something truly unique to them, rather than just a conglomeration, like a collaboration with other chefs. George says, try to disregard the price point and focus on the blend first. Well, I hear you on that, but I think one of the problems is for a lot of people, for most people, is that price is a big consideration. Like especially in the Davidoff world, like it may be very good, but not everybody is in a position where let's say they want to spend $25 to $30 per cigar every day. Now we did have a friend, Byron, who's still around, and he bought Davidoff number 3s. He would buy, these were $27 or $25. It was first 25, then 27, and he would buy those cigars every day by the box. George says some chefs are more active, like Thomas Keller. I would really like to try that. Rusty says, I wish Keller did his own. I think he did, but it's been a number of years, right, George? Actually, I was saying that the cigars has been nice, but I think it's starting to open up now. Now that we're at this point here, it seems like it feels like it's coming a little bit more alive. I feel like it's holding back. Like it's got good, like chocolate, deep tobacco notes. No, not chocolate, but more cacao, like that, like dark 60+% cacao. A little bit of spiciness to it. Maybe the baking spices and the brown sugar that we talked about earlier. Brian says, I think Keller was one of the first. I'm not disputing the fact that price can be important, but it's secondary. Oh, yes. I agree with that. And that's part of what we're, why, like for the scoring system, I've been working on this grading form, right? That's why this really does really tries to assess qualitatively the aspects of the cigar, rather than letting other factors such as the flavors that you're perceiving, the exact flavors that you're perceiving, or the price really kind of affect the way that the cigar performs in its scoring. And I'll say that, one thing's when it comes to price point, like because I'm buying cigars for the show, like my resilience and price point is much higher than it would be if I wasn't, because now it's like we want to try different ones, and the price shouldn't necessarily be too much of an object when trying different cigars. Like how dynamic or interesting would it be if we stayed in the sub $7 category for every show? That wouldn't be very dynamic at all. But one thing that I think we're finding is that a lot of the times we see superlatives used with cigars, and they're just, I don't think they deliver necessarily on the superlatives. So our coffee is doing well. So this is a Kirundo from Burundi, which is the northwest part of it. It's a natural process Bourbon varietal from 1600 meters. And the bag says that it should have strawberry jam, medium bodied, and mandarin orange. And definitely early on, we got some of that fermentiness, which I think is what's supposed to be strawberry. And then definitely had a real strong orange character, which I guess could be mandarin orange if you had a certain. I did tap it out just now. Rusty says, George, correct me if I'm wrong. The chef's edition is a collab between all the chefs chosen for that year and not individual cigars for each chef. I think that depends on the year and the chefs, I think. But George would know more. All right, now that I'm smoking this, at this very moment, right where you see these two fingers, it suddenly became very loose right there. I'm not sure why that is, but it's interesting. Like it wasn't loose until just now, and then now the heat has expanded. Like it's pretty hot right on this finger, where this finger is underneath the wrapper. Yeah, so it's soft. Now it's still a bit hard right here. I thought that was an interesting twist. Oh, I did want to go back a little bit. I think someone made a comment earlier that I kind of missed, that I kind of glanced at and missed. Oh, here it is. George said, ooh, theme show idea, Armenian tasting with their pals, coffee and cigars from the prominent Armenian cigar gangsters. Oh, that would be interesting. I wonder if Paul himself would be interested in appearing. Like, for example, in the video that's on the channel, the where is it? Oops. Here. In this video, this was the video from Beto. So Steve, this guy, is actually of Armenian descent, and actually he's got a really interesting story where he immigrated to the United States with his parents when he was 11 years old, because his grandfather had moved the family from a place called Musa Dug in Turkey to well, they were fighting in Musa Dog, right? The whole thing with with the Ottomans were trying to wipe them out during the genocide in 1915, and so they fled that, and then they came to Lebanon, and then in 1977, it was his family that had to move to the United States. They fled the Civil War that was happening there. So it was it's an interesting thing, and I wonder, like, if we could see if we could get Steve, we can go to maybe do it at his place or somewhere, make the Armenian coffee, maybe get it from Harry's Coffee in the Armenian coffee company in San Francisco. That would be interesting. Maybe that could be an interesting thing. Well, John's here. Hey, John, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. How's everything? Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I don't recall him talking too much about that years ago when we would go down and see him. And he probably did. I just probably didn't understand. But it wasn't until I was researching the storylines for these videos about Betos that I really kind of like learned a lot more detail about the Armenian people's struggle. Like, there are 8 million Armenians living outside of Armenia today. And inside Armenia, there's only 3 million. So more Armenians live in the diaspora than actual living in the country. So it's really quite a fascinating story to see. And it's just filled with like terrible things, genocide, wars. And it's something that I thought was interesting as we were talking about it in October and when I was shooting the video, is that people like Steve who lived in war, and then a couple other friends that I have that are our age, they've been through war as well. And it's hard to imagine, like, growing up in the United States where we've lived a very comfortable life, meaning that we've never had war on our doorstep. I mean, one of my really good friends lives in Zagreb. He's Croatian, and the war was in his town when we were teenagers. Another buddy of mine who is in Rwanda, Kigali, he had like some stories too. Like, he's with the same age and he lived through the genocide there, and it was really something that I find very fascinating and really, it's beyond conception for me, right? And I think it's beyond conception for a lot of Americans. Of course, those that go to war with the military have an understanding of war, but to see it fought on your own street in your neighborhood, that's a whole different dimension. George says, sorry guys, I had to run off and get my charger for my laptop. Yes, yes, the Davido Chef Series is a collaboration between a group, but most often works out to be led by one. Oh, okay. And Brian says, I took my Armenian friend to his shop and they talked for 3 hours. Nice. I mean, they've got a lot to talk about. PG and Ava were both products of diaspora raised in Lebanon. Oh, that's such an interesting thing. I wonder if PG knows Steve. Like, I guess maybe because they're both up your way, George. Like, Steve's in Falls Church, and of course, PG's up in McLean, so it's not too far. But I think it would be interesting. I think that idea is very interesting. I'll have to reach out to Kevork about that. But like, a friend of mine from Rwanda, I was in Rwanda, in Kigali, visiting, and we're hanging out one day, and we're talking about, and the thing is, I didn't know anything about, when I went to Kigali, I didn't really know anything about I only knew about it, the genocide in Rwanda. I didn't really know anything details on. So what I did is I ended up downloading the movie Hotel Rwanda, watching it inside my hotel room in Kigali. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is just terrible. And so finally one day, him and I were hanging out and we're talking. And somehow we came to the genocide and talk about what it's like. And of course, if you're not familiar, there's, Hutus and Tutsis, and they were battling, and it was very ugly time in their country. And I asked him a couple of questions, and of course, the question that I really wanted to ask was, "Were you Hutu or Tutsi?" And I was like, "Well, I don't have the balls to ask that question." And what I did ask him was like, what's it like now? I mean, or when the ceasefire began, or when the fighting ended, and everybody had to come back, how difficult has that been? And man, what he said to me was just rocked my mind. It was like, he said, imagine what it's like to come back and live with your neighbor who killed your mother. And I was like, holy God, that is just, I was like, I couldn't believe it. Like, it's just like, yeah. And actually he said, but the thing is that we are determined not to go back to that. We are determined to live together as Rwandans, as one people. And that's what we strive for every day. And I was like, holy moly, like, that's conceptually like very difficult to understand even now. And that conversation him and I had was in 2008. And I'm just like, still today when I think about it, it's like, my God, man, it's like, this guy, your neighbor, who now we're working to get along with, killed my mother. How do you walk away from that? How do you walk down the same path with that person from that point? I mean, that's courage. That's very much like courage. My friend in Croatia, his take was a little bit different. So I said to him, we were hanging out one day, and I was like, so what did you do during the war? He's like, well, and at the time we were both 19, 18, 19, 17, 18, 19. So we're right around that age. And he was like, in the daytime, I would run arms to the front line. So RPGs and things like that. So I'd take RPGs to the front line. And then at night, I'd go party at the club all night. Get up in the morning, come home from the club, get up in the morning, because they were underground clubs. And he'd go run arms during the day and go nightclubbing at night. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. So just interesting stuff. And like, one of the things is like, when it comes to the Beatles video, so the first one is all about the Armenian coffee. The second one is more about the cigar that we're smoking, which is the LGC Series R Natural, as well as some other topics like lawn care and precision and, attention to detail. Because one of the things that I really liked about Steve was that if you watch his channel, which is Beatles Leatherworks, he's very meticulous. He's very much about attention to detail, doing really high quality craftsmanship. And it's really interesting, like really inspiring to watch his stuff, even though production quality wise, it's rather on the lower end, but everything else about it, you're like, fascinating. Just watching this guy repair shoes, you're like, hours, days have gone by. You can watch that stuff. And so, but the third one, which actually is the longest one of them all, and that's really more encompassing of what's going on in the shop, how they're building certain shoes, and then it's really more of his story of him and his family, how they came to America, and some of it's outright like brutal. I'm like, it's a completely different tone than these other two. So like, and this one, the second one doesn't come out till February 19th. So in 2 more weeks. So we're doing the Ember mug this weekend, and then back to another Saudi Arabia video, and then to Betos. and then back to Saudi. Because I was getting to the point where I was like, I've got all these releases to do from Saudi. That, I mean, if I did them all in sequential order first, then I could easily. It could be April. It could be March or April by the time we get to something else. I was like, that's just too. That would be just too monotonous, I think. So. But like tonally, it's the third one is very different. Like it starts off kind of heavy, like he's telling a story about something that happened during the war. So he spent 2 years as an 11-year-old child in the war in Lebanon. And I mean, he lived in Beirut, so things were just being blown up left and right. Like people were just getting massacred. Snipers taking people out, rocket launchers blowing people up. I mean, it's horrific. Well, anyway, enough of that. So now the cigar, now that really pushed through that we're coming to the end of the first third, now it's starting to come alive. So while it did it's still soft, like right here, Ben, that's like super soft. It has not affected the performance of the cigar, or at least it hasn't affected the draw and the smoke production. The flavors right now are starting to become more lively. Like I wasn't too, like it was nice. It was good. It was very good, but I wasn't too like enthralled by the first third. Now it's starting to come alive. It's starting to get more interesting. So how about you guys? What did you guys smoke this week? Anything interesting? Have you seen anything? Have you guys been following Navy SEALs? I didn't realize it. So they moved Navy SEALs to Paramount Plus or something like that, one of the streaming services. And so, as you know, Navy SEALs came from CBS, right? From Network. And Network is 23 episodes. Now that it's on streaming service and you're paying to watch it, 13 episodes. So the season's over. So I was like, they had this like cliffhanger episode, and I was like, oh man, what's going to happen now? Like they're in dire straits. Like it's really bad. Like you're like, how are they going to get out of this stuff, right? And I was looking at it this week. I was looking for this week, and then I found some news articles like, oh yeah, the season's over. It's like, season's over? What? They haven't renewed it yet. It's like, they haven't renewed it yet. Season's over? It's only been 13 episodes. So they went to the streaming service because they're going to give you more value. They can be a little more violent. They can curse more. Like Navy SEALs that don't curse, that's kind of unbelievable, right? But network television, so you can't really curse. Now they're dropping F-bombs and S-bombs everywhere. Actually, they don't really say it that much. Like not as much as I would expect. But 13 episodes. Like, I really hate these like short season like episodes. Like, for example, what is it? Oh, Doctor Who this year. 2 years or almost 3 years to wait, and then 6 episodes. It's like normally you do 12, 13. Now you're giving us half of that. It's like, oh. Very disappointing. Very disappointing. Georgian Shorts, how's that going out there? Speaking of which, time to open the mailbag. Got a couple packages a week. First one up is from our friend Rusty. I know you said something in last week's show about, I think I remember you saying that in last week's show about sending me something. And I can't. Oh, look at that. I just noticed this very moment. Nice. And I don't recall what's it. So this is going to be really a surprise for me as well. Oops, sorry. Oh, that's right. Oh, my goodness. Oh, that's amazing, dude. Kitchen creativity from Karen. Oh, excellent. 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 I love her books. Karen Page makes some great stuff. Fantastic. Look at that. Thank you, Rusty. Thank you very much. I'm going to read this. Oh, a little letter. I found this book in the clearance rack at the local bookstore and was offended. Paige and her husband Dornberg has written some great food. Yeah, I have that one, the tasting one. What is it called? But yeah, that's an excellent. It's about tasting and pairings. It's really one. I can't remember that offhand, but really wonderful. Anyone who's in the food industry or a bon vivant of food, as yourself, would love to have this one on their bookshelves. Yes, thank you very much. Keep up the live Instagram food videos. I haven't done any this past week or so. And just watch it do the tasty Twinkie tasting. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. All right, excellent. Thank you. I love it. Beautiful. And then this is going to be the mailbag of New Jersey week, because the other one comes from our friend Yasmina. And actually, when I first got it, the mailman dropped it off, and he was like, and I see this Peixoto, right? Coffee roasters. I was like, Peixoto sent me coffee? Well, that's kind of cool. And it wasn't until I rolled it over and I saw it was from Yasmina. I was like, this is the stuff. So what this is Yasmina messaged me and Rusty the other week or last week and said, hey, would you be interested in doing a live coffee tasting? And I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. And so this is the coffees. I've been saving, it's been here for a couple of days. I haven't opened it because I figured I'd use it for the show. So I don't really know what's in here. Oh, a little card. Nice. Oh, so we have some coffee. So this is, there's 3 coffees. I didn't know there was going to be more than one. I thought we were all doing the same one. Okay, so we've got Cafe Vita's El Salvador Mambo, 50 grams, natural processed. Oh, it's from Rate of Rise, not from Vita. This is Vita's logo. Vita's a coffee roaster up in Seattle. So these are this one is not from Bunbuna. This is actually from Al-Makahi, some of our friends in Saudi Arabia, the Guatemala, Huehue Tenango, washed, roasted, like Huehue Tenango, right? This is from Guatemala. Years ago, I met a guy, and he insisted on pronouncing Huehue Tenango as Hoi Hoi Tenango. Hoi. What in H-U? Even in English, it's Hugh, right? It could be Hugh Tenango, right? But Hoi Tenango? I was like, dude, you need to like. And then this is also from Rate of Rise. This is the Ethiopia Adola natural process. Okay, excellent. I remember she was saying that we had some coffees to try that they gave us in Saudi. So, all right, excellent. So, Rusty, have you decided which coffee we're supposed to like? I think we're supposed to do each coffee or separate coffees. Oh, fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. So, Rusty, are you saying that, what to eat with what you drink? Oh, right. That's the other book by Paige and Dornenberg. Yeah, that's an excellent one. I have that on my shelf. The bags threw me off because they're from, the bags are from random places. So obviously Yasmina is getting a lot of different coffees that she's drinking. Me, I don't get any. I hardly get any. Like I've actually been, that coffee that we had on the show a couple weeks ago, the one from Freddie from Grandmother's Coffee. I've been drinking the heck out of that, like almost every day, and I've really been enjoying it. It's really been a wonderful. I'm pretty much on the last cup tomorrow, I think. Uh-oh. Good. Ooh, had to rescue that one. This, when I pulled it back up after talking, opened the boxes, it had kind of died out. There was a little bit of fire left, so I just kind of sucked on it to keep it alive. Okay, we're back. We're back. Good. Yeah, there's a much more richer flavor now in this second third. So I'd say we're getting into the second third. So let's review the first third. I think the body is pretty full. I'm going to say it's excellent, a little bit more than excellent. The flavor for me, though, it was very good, but it wasn't really capturing me yet. Now it's definitely improving. So if you're interested in this coffee cupping, coffee tasting, it's not a cupping. I think the plan is that we're all, so actually there's a little bit of, I think I need to touch it up because it's still in here, but we're getting some uneven burning now. And I think that's because this side is not as well lit. I just want to touch it so that we can continue. Oh. There we go. That should do it. Oh, Brian smoking the Roma Craft Neanderthal. How's that smoking for you tonight? That is a nice, full-bodied, strong cigar. Yeah, this second third is definitely more alive, much more oomph. Oh, Yasmina, hello. Good to see you. How is it going? How's everything up in New Jersey? Are you buckling down for the snow or the sleet or whatever's happening up there? I don't know what's happening. Here it's all kind of overcast and cloudy and foggy. Oh, okay, just for a few minutes. All right, well, good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. John says, no different than ice cream. Now half gallon is a quart and a half. I don't know what to explain. I'm still trying to understand what we're going to do. I think the idea right now is that we're going to do a tasting where each of us chooses a coffee. And are we choosing the same coffee? It seems that it would be more interesting, or at least, I don't know, it seems like maybe doing it uniformly would be maybe the different brew methods with the same coffee so that the viewers can have three different interpretations. But really, I'm willing to go along with whatever you guys want to do. Also, I was trying to figure out what to do about recording it because, like, I did a live stream this morning on the Spro Coffee Instagram about roaster maintenance. So as I was, kind of cleaning the roast, taking the roaster apart and cleaning it, I was live streaming about it, which I found that, on the Spro Coffee channels, on the Spro Coffee IG, it doesn't have as many followers and it doesn't have a lot of people that watch the live stream. So I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to do that again. I'm going to stick with the OnoCoffee 4 channel for live streaming. But anyway, I was trying to find a way to download it because I wanted to upload it to YouTube, the video, but I can't seem to figure out how to download an Instagram video to my computer. So I was looking this afternoon about I was running a live stream on that channel to see how I could record it on a computer here. And so I'd like to record our event and then put it up as a separate video. Yasmin says, I have no clue what's up with the weather. Just been raining a lot. Oh, okay. Super foggy for you. Super foggy here. Right now it's quite, or at least when I stuck my head out at 8 o'clock, it was pretty foggy. So if you're just joining us, we're smoking the Crowned Heads Le Patissier. It's a release from the 2021 PCA, Premium Cigar Association trade show. And we're drinking the Burundi Kirundo from OnoCoffee Roasters in Saudi Arabia. Both have actually been very good. Like, now that we're on the second third of this cigar, it's really starting to come alive. It's starting to get a little bit more interesting, a little more complex. The early part had a lot more brown sugar, dark cacao, but was relatively kind of like not too interesting. Like, it was good, but not captivating. Now it's changing. Now it's getting a little bit brightness to it. It's getting a little more complex. It's deeper. Oh, okay. So pick one coffee, brew 3 ways. Okay, so do we have a decision on the coffee? That's what I'm interested in. Somewhere. And are we going to do it tomorrow or on Sunday? I saw the message. Like, so we're trying to figure. We were talking about doing it on Sunday, 1 p.m. And then the thought now that Rusty was going to be off tomorrow, maybe do it tomorrow. So I can go either day. I just have to. If tomorrow I have deliveries, like I said in the morning, that I have to make to some of our wholesale clients. So I can't do it in the morning. And then also, like, one of the things that, like, Rusty messaged me on text message yesterday about live streaming. Like, he runs his own live stream on Instagram called Live from Obra's Kitchen. And that's kind of good to check it out. It's a separate Instagram account, right? Live from Obra's Kitchen. And he was asking me about how to do live streaming. And like right now, the stream that we're using to get this look that you see here, and as well as a look that a lot of other live streamers use with all this kind of lights and depth and clarity of imagery, it takes a little bit of gear for that. So it's something that you kind of will, I think, build up to. Like, it took a while to get to this point, at least. But that was something we can talk more about. Okay, that's fine too. We can do Sunday 1 o'clock. That's fine too. Gives me more time to figure out how to do this Instagram, because my phone is actually, my iPhone has, on the iPhone, they've got these where they have the speaker and the microphone. It's all credit up. Like, I've been cleaning it, but I still really can't hear very well out of it. So like today's live stream, I actually plugged a wireless microphone into it. And that worked. I think that worked well. But I can't really hear too well. And depending on the environment that I'm in, it's like sometimes I can't hear it all. Like in the times when I've been on Hoon's Coffee's Instagram live stream, like I can barely hear what he's saying. I'm like, oh, what's he saying? I can't hear it. That's why I'm always waiting for this. George says he votes for Sunday. Better watch time anyway. That's a great point. I think if to do it on a Friday, it would have to be later in the afternoon. So if you're subscribed to one, so I guess we'll do it on Sunday. So if you're subscribed to one of us on Instagram, then you'll see the feed at some point. So there's a little circle, that little circle that has our Instagram thing. It'll usually say live on it when we're live. So when we're all on the live stream, then it usually says that. So you can click on that from any of the feeds and be brought to it. Yeah, got to be bare bones. But yeah, it really, I mean, it's like the cameras are expensive. Like the one that I'm using for this show is moderately pricey. But the ones, like I sent a lot of the guys you watch on YouTube that are doing these videos, man, their cameras are like $2,000-$3,000. I'm like that's a lot of money. Like there's just no way around it. They've got a lot of, and I see guys, people who do live stream on YouTube. I mean, they're using like full blown cameras, like cameras that are like in the $5,000 to $10,000 range. And I was like, whoa, like I don't know And I don't even know if that's worth it. Like many of the streams, like for example, this, I use a group called StreamYard, as you can see up here, right? StreamYard, they have a free version. This is not a free version. Like, remember when they had the duck up here? That was the free version. Now they had a special where you get $10 a month and you get certain features that are extra. Like for example, these bars that have all the wording and all it, it's nicer looking, right? The other one's kind of fat and kind of like one-dimensional. Like those were all with the free version. Now with this one, I can change it a little bit and make it a little bit nicer looking. And that's like the most basic of the paid. But it also allows me to record for 1 hour, which I was actually kind of irritated with because I didn't realize it said you can record, but then it wasn't until I paid for it and then like got into it that I learned that you can only record on StreamYard for 1 hour. And it's like, so I'm recording it'll record at 1080p, but I think it only gets sent at 720. So it's like, oh, and we do 2-hour live stream. So it's like, well, that doesn't do me any good. So, but a lot of guys will send, but like what I'm saying, so I'm saying like these other guys, they're using these cameras that are 4K, 6K cameras, but most people are watching 720. So it's kind of like, do you really need to have that kind of thing? So really it's more about when you do start to get this on cameras, there are a lot of used cameras on the market that you can go with that are a lot more affordable. They're still like, pushing $500, but it's a little more affordable. George says, your content's rich, so don't worry about expensive equipment. You say, oh, thank you. But all of that is because I am using some pretty pricey equipment. Like, for example, this microphone here, this is the Electro Voice RE20, and I've actually had this since 1998, since I used to work. So when I was working in motion pictures, I bought this back then. So I've had it for, 24 years now. But if you looked at this price new, this is a $450 microphone. So it's a broadcast quality it's a broadcast microphone. So this microphone and this other one you see, you'll probably see these guys and they're talking this big black microphone. The one that's kind of on this weird, tilted. That's the Shure SM7B, around the same price point. Also for broadcast use, I prefer the sound of this than the RE20 and then the SM7B. But all of this sounds because I have this did cost quite a bit of money. Yeah, so Rusty, drop your Instagram for the live stream, what you're going to use, and then we can catch it. But I need a new project to work on. Oh, yeah. I need a new project to work on, and the account need a rebrand. Yeah. I mean, I get it. I mean, it just takes time. Like all of this that we're using here is developed over time as well. Like the camera that I'm using, this Sony is I got this when it came out in July of 2020. But everything that I produced until that point for the preceding 7-8 months, or almost a year, was all on the iPhone 10. And then when I found, so the first thing I had the iPhone 10, and the first thing I bought for the iPhone 10 was a off-board microphone. And I bought a cheap $20 microphone that actually sounds fairly decent. Like a lot of people would go for the Rode Video microphone, which is $80, $80 or $100. Mine cost $20 because I was like, I can't really afford that. So I did that and then saved some cash, and then when they released the ZV-1, this camera, I decided to get it because as I was doing more videos, I was like, I really would like to have more control over the exposure of the image. Yes, that'd be good. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. We'll have brunch too. So I think our plan is to do 1 p.m. on Sunday afternoon. And here it is. It'll be on his main account at Rusty Obra. Yeah, definitely do the account that has more follows. Like when I do the Instagram live streams when I'm making something, and I do it when I do it on the OnoCoffee 4 channel, like there are people that actually come and watch, and I'm really kind of surprised. But like today, not too many people came on the Spro Hamden channel. So I was like, okay, we're not going to do it. We're not doing any more on the Spro Hamden, because if after like the first 20 minutes, like it kind of all fell off, and I was like, well, there's nobody there, so but I'm going to keep going. Got to finish. So, it just died. It just petered out, just like that. What happened? Like I'll have to go watch the replay, but I've been puffing away on this, right? And then now, I mean, even though I'm puffing, actively smoking still, it just stopped. That's weird. Now I have to do relight. We're going to use the Cirillo technique. This Cirillo technique really works so much better than the way I used to do it. You know, whenever I would die, I'd tap out the ash and then even like squeeze a little bit to clear out all that ash that's in the center. So it would kind of hollow it out. But then when I relit, there was like ash dropping everywhere. What a nightmare that was. Rusty says, no football this week, so we should draw a card. Oh, okay, good. Yeah, exactly. Because the Pro Bowl is no longer in Hawaii, right? So if it's not in Hawaii, who gives? Who cares? Speaking of falling off, oh, darn it, there it goes. My ash just fell. I have to hop. Regards to your cigar. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Sorry to say, I think you got a less than perfect example. Next time it ought to be better. My own experience with LP is all top notch. I mean, I believe it. I'm just. It is the luck of the draw. Well, thank you very much, George. Have a great week. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you being here. And Tony's taking off. All right, Tony, have a good one. Thanks for tuning in. Oh, we're losing viewers now. Maybe too much talk of the YouTube stuff. Oh, great. We'll see George on Sunday. Excellent. See you then, George. Tony says his score would be 89.265. All right, we're going to keep that in mind and see what it is. The interesting thing is I have not reached that point. Actually, I'm going to show you, like I was compiling our scoring. And here it is so far. We've done 4 weeks, a full month. 82.25 for the LCA 21 Vintage Reserve, which is the very first cigar we did for the year. And then last week's cigar with the Plasencia Cosecha 149 at 81.25, then 82.5 for Oliva Serie V. And the McFly at 68.2. You know, I check this. Every time I see that score now, I always think I need to recalculate that. And every time I recalculate, it's still the same. But this is going to be our leaderboard. So I don't have a big enough studio to put those big magnetic things from what's it called? From Top Gear. From Top Cigar. So we're going to have to stick with that for the moment. So something I was going to talk about before, I kind of mentioned earlier when George was at the early part of the show, at the start, and Brian was kind enough to pick me up a Imperial Jade La Galera, the 44 ring gauge. Actually, let me pull that up here. So here it is, the 44 by 5.5. We had this one. And so in the previous episodes, like back when George brought us some, we had the Toro shape, the 52 by 6. That was a sublime cigar. And both occasions that I had it was stellar. Now, the two that I did have were from the very same batch. But this one did not, I was looking forward to it. And so I also have this torpedo here. It's sitting in the humidor. And I have to be honest, I have been a little bit reticent to smoke it because I'm like, will it give me the same experience? And, or will it be different? And it's the only one that I have. So I'm like, maybe I should hold on to it for a while. So when Brian got me this one, I was really thankful. And we smoked it the other night, and it was different. The experience was different. It wasn't that same lush, like super, like sublime experience. It was a little bit problematic, to be honest. A little bit more acridity in this section of the cigar, kind of towards the end, the end of the second third, into the third. It wasn't that performer that the 52 by 6 is. So if you do go find it, I would say at this point, go with the Toro shape. And then let me know what you think, because I'm interested in what other people have the experience with. I know Rusty had this. We all had this one, and it was still one of the best ones I've ever had. Let's see what other people have to say about this cigar that we're smoking tonight, the Le Patissier. So this is from Blind Man's Puff. They reviewed it back in November. Brian says, that was one of the sizes I brought you. You chose a smaller ring gauge, but I didn't care for the larger size. But I didn't care for the larger size Toro. Oh, interesting. That's interesting. Like, where is it? Let me find it here. When I mentioned this earlier tonight, George said that there's the possibility, I guess, they could have come from different batches. Here it is. New sizes might mean different flavors, but I promise. Okay, so it could be different batches. I don't know, but and then again, it could also be the fact that where our palates may have slight variations that I might like something more than you would enjoy. So that's always a big possibility. But let's see what they have to say here. The Blind Man Puff people. Oh yeah, we know about all that. Initial impressions, appearance 94. Yeah, the appearance, I mean, very good appearance. 91, 90, 93. So let's see his first side. Really herbaceous, pre-light flavor, peppery, sweet peppery, big blast of baking spices right off the bat. Spicy flavor profile, sweet raisin, dried fruit flavors. The draw is fairly tight. That I did have. I don't think I could even, like, if you look at my cigar, I don't think you can cut it open. Oh, is this even showing us? I don't think you can cut it more to open it up, like, unless I cut the full width of the full thickness, the full diameter of the cigar. A lot of bold flavors. I would say the boldness, yeah, sure. Dark chocolate. English walnuts. Oh, interesting. But definitely, I thought the second third was performing better than the first third in my case. Third opens with bitter coffee notes, dense cocoa nibs, whipping cream, anise, cocoa, 5-spice. I'm Asian. I eat a lot of Asian food. Even I don't know what 5-spice tastes like. Go figure. So they're saying overall impressions 90, 94, 93 overall. Interesting. Let's see what Cigar Dojo has to say from July 19th. So it's July 19th. Is that right? Is this oh no, this is just a review from the show notes, not an actual review of the cigar itself. Okay. Oh, not that one. Okay. I think the coffee, this Kirundo Burundi is very good. It's really, now that it's fully cooled, it's quite a pleasant drinking coffee. Actually could be a really nice, refreshing kind of cold coffee. Some, that orangey kind of note to it. So what else been happening in your guys' world? I noticed today, or not today, but over the last week or so, I see a lot of people talking about banning. Oh, what's going on here? There we go. I see a lot of people talking about banning books. And I was like, what is going on with these people? What are they talking about banning books? So I was looking online about these book bannings. And Barnes & Noble has a listing of all the books that are being banned or trying to be banned. Moss, 1619 Project, 1984. Like 1984, I think, is a very interesting book to ban. Like 1984 is a book that warns us about totalitarianism rising. And, it's a book that if you read, it's kind of like, makes you wonder, like, this is the kind of thing we probably should have people reading, especially in America, especially in the land of the free, where we value freedom and independent thinking. So to want to ban that just seems so. Maybe they should be banning Animal Farm along with it. The Hate You Give, To Kill a Mockingbird, Fahrenheit 451, Of Mice and Men. I mean, isn't Of Mice and Men considered like one of the classics of American literature? Lord of the Flies as well. The Bluest Eye. Harry Potter. And Harry Potter, you want to ban Harry Potter. So I saw Harry Potter and I was like, what in the world are these people talking about? So let's look at Harry Potter. Why people want to ban Harry Potter? Let's look here. SCMP. I don't know what SCMP is. Let's have a look here. Oh, South China Morning Post. Harry Potter banned books banned from U.S. school library because they conjure evil spirits. What kind of craziness is this? You're telling me that I can go get the Harry Potter book and I can use these spells and they're going to conjure something. So, for example, if I sit here, Expelliarmus, that's going to happen. Oh, come on, man. What kind of crazy world are we living in? Yeah, exactly. Fahrenheit 451. Can you believe that? It's like, really? It seems that a lot of these book banning places prefer to have want to ban books where people are encouraged to think. I think that people that want to ban these books don't really want people to think. They just want people to follow. Like here, How the Word is Passed, A Reckoning with the History of Slavery Across America. So slavery books they want to be banned. Handmaid's Tale they want to ban. Now, Handmaid's Tale is a brutal story. Like it's not fun. Like it's brutal. Oh yeah, they have Animal Farm is being banned. Look at that. I mean, this one especially, Animal Farm, and even Handmaid's Tale, warnings of how things could go in America, like Handmaid's Tale. Like that's truly the rise of fascism in the United States, and it's set here. So I mean, it's like damnation in America, and you don't want people to know about that. That just seems to be that's craziness. Where the wild things are, you want to ban where the wild things are, and brave the what? Where the wild things are, you can piss off with that. Like they were talking about in this article here, that the Catholic Church, as Catholics, American Catholics in Nashville want to ban Harry Potter books. You know, I'm pretty hardcore when it comes to being Catholic, and I think that's just ridiculous. The belief that we're going to conjure spirits, evil spirits from the book. I mean, I thought we got past this whole idea of burning witches at the stake. What else do they have in here? Persepolis. Oh, really? Actually, I haven't read some of these. Lolita. Yeah, I get it why you want to ban Lolita. Don't like sex. Yeah, Texas. I mean, but these guys crazy. I saw on social media that if you're banning some of these books because of the content, then what about I mean, the Bible, God, so violent, so violent. The religiosity is really kind of strange. Like, the one thing that I'm always, as I've been traveling more, visiting different countries, and especially the last few years when I've been going more to the Middle East, meeting Muslims, getting to know Muslims, learning more about Islam, I'm perplexed as why we as Catholics or Christians have a problem with them. Like the Jesus, our Jesus, the Jesus that we know, is mentioned quite a few times in the Quran. Like the people of Islam actually revere Jesus they revere him as a prophet, not as the Messiah that we do. But still, he's very well respected. And, in the third of the major Abrahamic religions, in Judaism, they don't really acknowledge him. So why are we like so against the same people that recognize our own Savior? I'm perplexed by that. I'm perplexed. Exactly. Just like, what is going on here? The Kite Runner. Like a lot of these, to be honest, I haven't read a lot of these. I went to Loyola. I didn't go to Gilman, so I'm not very well read. Like Sidewalk Ends. Really, you want to ban where the sidewalk ends. And Hitchhiker's Guide. Really? They want to ban Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? And One for the Grapes of Wrath? For God's sake, really? The hate you give is supposed to be the hate you give. Yeah. I mean, that's what I've heard. I mean, these are all like well-respected Da Vinci Code. Well, I can see why Catholics might be against the Da Vinci Code. It's kind of like exposing. Dr. Seuss, really? Hop on Pop? You're going to like hate Hop on Pop? That's one of my favorite books. This is the interesting thing. Like, we don't want, like, these people don't seem to want to, they don't want people to be well-read. Like reading, and I get it. Reading opens minds. Reading really causes people to think for themselves. God knows we don't want that to happen. Yeah, we wonder about that. Maybe it is. Critical race theory. Yeah, we don't want that. We don't want that. God knows we should never admit that there was racism in America and that we had slaves in this country. Lord of the Rings. Well, Lord of the Rings. All these people obsessing over that ring. They get a little bit crazy. Angela Davis. Really? Don't like Angela Davis? Catcher in the Rye. That's always been kind of like a controversial book. Sex is a funny word. Yeah, don't talk about sex. Malcolm X. We don't want to talk about him. We hate Malcolm X, but we seem to be okay with Elijah Muhammad. Diary of Anne Frank. We don't want people to know how people suffered under those years. Gang days in LA. Marlon Bundo. I have no idea what that's about. And these children's books, they want people to ban that? Ban the Attica prison uprising? You know, I was watching this video yesterday, or maybe it was today. There is still a prison barge in New York City. And it's notorious for, like, you know, people like just suffering living under those conditions. And I'm just like, what kind of world are we living in? Cornel West, I think they just want to ban his entire collection. Anything with Cornel West, they don't even want to talk about. I'm Not Your Negro. Pentagon Papers, Secret History. We don't want people to know about the Vietnam War. Actually, interestingly, Vietnam War brings up a good thing. Remember the Vietnam War? Actually, I don't remember any of it, but I was born during the Vietnam era. And what I always thought about with the Gulf War that was interesting was that I remember the talk about the Vietnam War. When the Vietnam War was going on, they had all this reporting of all these like atrocities that were happening in Vietnam and Southeast Asia. And that played in the media very heavily. And a lot of people, when soldiers came home, there was a lot of hatred towards American servicemen that served in Vietnam for whether or not they actually participated in those acts. And there was a very, very strong tide of opposition to the war in Vietnam. And I think what was really interesting is when we started the war in the Middle East after 9/11 was that we had a lot of jingoism in America. If you recall, 20 years ago, that whole thing about support the troops, thank you for your service, that really spawned from that time. And I really have always thought that this whole thing about support the troops, it was always support the troops, right? Forget the war. Like, we're not talking about support the war. Like, we're going to go massacre all these people in the Middle East. No big deal. And we don't want you to think about that massacre. What we want you to think about is we need to support our troops. Our troops need our support. We're sending them to do our worst deeds, so we need to support them. So I thought that was so well played. Like, America ate that up. We were all about thanking people for their service and supporting the troops. And that prevented us as a people from critically thinking about the war. Like, what are we doing there? Why are we doing this? We were in the frenzy of, you know, we must have revenge for 9/11. And, but I mean, if we look back upon it now, it was a very successful campaign to get the people to ignore the war and just support the troops. Yeah, Diary of Anne Frank. Yeah, we don't want people to know that. That hurts something. And that was a war that we fought rather valiantly, I thought. I don't know. I don't get it. Man-Child, the Promised Land. Now, there's 10 pages of this. Banned books. Lysistrata. I mean, look at this. Time to Kill. Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. The Great Gatsby. People just don't want you to dress up nicely. Just because he has a bunch of shirts, people get upset about. Twilight. Okay, maybe violent, the whole vampire thing. Okay, maybe you Hunger Games. Again, this is a book that talks about what could happen in the United States. Pan Am is just like dystopia, U.S. dystopia, all just kind of like Handmaid's Tale all over again. 50 Shades of Grey, again, more people scared of sex. Sun Also Rises, really? Man. For Whom the Bell Tolls. Wow, man, there's Catch-22. Good Lord. I mean, these are some really farewell tones. I mean, we're talking about some heavy-duty classics, and they want to ban it? I mean, I'll be honest. Like I said, I haven't read all these. Bridge to Terabitha. I'm familiar with a lot of them. Girl Interrupted. I mean, just like, wow. Girl with a Pearl Earring. Judy Blume. Really, Judy Blume? You want to ban Judy Blume? Oh, look at this. Ban Freakonomics. I don't know if you read that book. I did read that. I mean, anything about thinking about what's going on in the world is on this banned list. There's something wrong with that. Fight Club, Water for Elephants, Freedom Writer's Diary. Like, oh, even Like Water for Chocolate. Really? Like Water for Chocolate? You want to ban that? What do people, you know what I wonder? What do these people want them people to read? Nothing? Okay, so we're finally through that. Let me take a moment for this. We should go back and review our cigar. We're finally through the second third. That was definitely a lot better. Body is consistently the same. So I'm saying 8.5 for the flavor, 8.25 for the body. Body was, has been consistent. The flavor improved. So my first third, I gave 7.75. I think that there was definitely an improvement with the second third, even with that one glitch where it just kind of dropped out and completely died out. And that's really kind of was right at that was really at the transition between the two. Maybe that kind of thing should be considered a defect. Maybe we'll consider that a defect. I'm going to call that flame drop off. We'll take 1 point away for that. Society's so depressing. It is depressing. Well, that's true. The Olympics are coming up, right? So by next week, we'll be into the middle of the Olympics, actually, because it starts tomorrow in Beijing. I noticed that there's a lot of negativity going on about China right now. And I think it's a lot of the American media centers trying to find something to be negative. But if you recall when Beijing had the Summer Olympics 15 years ago, I think it was, man, their opening ceremony was super impressive. What was it, 1,000 people performing with the drums? And I was like, whoa, I still remember that. That was crazy impressive. Oh, I think figure skating has started. Really? Let's see here. The New York Times has, well, I'm not sure, but it looks like they're practicing. Let's look at Olympic curling. Who is Olympic curling? Winter Olympics 220. I guess they're starting already. Team Great Britain fall to first curling defeat after mogul skiing and luge begin. Oh. Team USA lost 8-4 to Italy in second mixed doubles curling result of the day. China and Sweden beat Australia and Czech Republic. Does Australia have curling? Is it cold enough there to get curling? Do they go to Antarctica to practice? Canada beats Switzerland in ice hockey, women's ice hockey. Mixed gender in curling. That would be interesting. I don't think they do that, though. Because it went out, you had to relate. I think that should be, there should be, I wouldn't consider that to be a defect had it just been something where it just kind of went out because I wasn't tending to the cigar. But in this circumstance, I was actively smoking. It just kind of dropped, which is, actually, to me, very unusual. Like I've never had that happen in a cigar that I can recall. So yes, in that case, I think that should be that's going to be listed as a defect with a 1-point deduction. Like the defects, we're not going to penalize very heavily, but I think that should be reflected on it. Rusty says the figure skating preliminals are on right now. Oh, okay. I always forget that they actually run the some events before the opening ceremonies, which makes sense because there's so many events that happen during any of the Olympics that it seems that that you'd have to do it because there's just too many. One of the things I was thinking earlier, like last summer when we were having the Tokyo Olympics, is like, why didn't they just push it to the summer of 2022? I mean, they've already got the facilities. It's not like it's going to go anywhere. Why couldn't they just push it to 2022? I mean, go back to the times when we would have both events that same year. Like I always thought that was kind of cool. I mean, I guess there's a reason for it. Too much for them to handle or something. I'm guessing that the what do you call it? The networks prefer. I guess the networks must feel that if they had both summer and winter in the same year, people wouldn't watch it much. Oh, Steve, how's it going, man? How does that work? Wait, how does what work? They smoke weed in Saudi? I'm sure they do somewhere there. As much as that's illegal and not available to most people, I'm sure there's somebody at the embassies that is smoking weed. Actually, my contacts there tell me that all kinds of stuff happen in the diplomatic quarter with all the people from other countries. But local people tend, as far as I've seen, never do it. Brian says, should be the same, but why wouldn't teams have men and women? I mean, I'm all for co-ed. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against it. Yeah, could be. Oh, look at this. I just noticed this here. Tennessee pastors hold witchcraft book burning for Harry Potter and Twilight. Let's have a look. Look at these people. Conservative pastor holds witchcraft book burning event targeting Harry Potter and Twilight as school districts around the country ban various titles. Greg Locke of Global Vision Bible Church in the city of Mount Juliet, outside of Nashville, hosted congregants on Wednesday for a book burning. Ahead of the event, he encouraged them to bring their copies of the wildly popular fantasy books, as well as tarot cards, Ouija boards, healing crystals, idol statues, spell books, and everything else tied to the occult. Here's something that I think is probably very, unhappy. We talk about, here, that's saying here about, idol statues. So in the Abrahamic religions, there are 3 major religions, right? There is Judaism, Islam, well, I guess Judaism first, then Catholicism, Christianity, and then Islam, right? So Muhammad lived in 630, so 600 years after Jesus. And of the 3 of these Abrahamic religions, and the big thing with Abrahamic religions is that it's monotheistic, right? So one God. Of the 3, only Catholicism, Christianity has 2. The question I think that brings up is worshiping Jesus idolatry? That's got to be unpopular. That's unpopular. All right, let's get away from that. I think that's we all follow the same God, Yahweh, God, and Allah. I don't know. XY says, wow, magic's not accepted. It seems that they don't like the magic, Maybe it pulls away too much from the religious leaders' power. You know, I think about Jesus, right? If we think about Jesus, right? Why was Jesus so hated in his time? Because here was Jesus. He's going around. He's like talking to people. He's telling stories, gathering crowds. And when you have people following you, that gives you power, right? He's taking that power away from the religious leaders of the time. I think that they would naturally be against him. They would actually hate him for that. And they'd want to take him out, because the more people follow Jesus, less people follow them. Right? I think that's how it normally works. And Jesus is out there. He goes to the wedding of Cana, converts water into wine. He's on the mount, the Sermon at the Mount, converts, bread and fish for like thousands of people from just a few loaves. This is witchcraft, right? I mean, if you don't understand what's going on, that's witchcraft. We think of him as being divine by God, or supposedly God himself, God incarnate on earth. But really, for those people back then, they're like, what is this guy doing? He just fed 2,000 people from 6 loaves. That's witchcraft, right? What we don't understand is witchcraft. The Ouija board is bad. I think the Ouija board is bad. Like, I don't like to use the Ouija board. I've done it in the past. Like, we've had some friends that did it, and I was like, oh, that's freaky stuff. I'm not into that. Rusty says, why aren't both Olympics in the same year? Loss of money. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Well, it's just thoughts, just thoughts. They're things that I'm wondering. And Di says, Bill and Ted said it best. Be excellent to each other. This is why they have their own religion in the future. I mean, yeah, you make a person rise from the dead. That's witchcraft. That's magic. That's like, what? This is my brother. He's dead. Rise. What? That would be just like, I'd freak out. I'd be like, that's just freaky. All right, so this has gone out again. Now here, this is the rest of you. You're talking about, like, if the cigar goes out to you, is that a defect? I think that when it gets to this length, I would not consider that to be a defect. That's kind of like how a lot of cigars will perform. They would be, but we're going to try to relight. I always have a hard time relighting at this stage because it's just so close to my nostrils. The XY, going back to what you were asking about the marijuana thing, I don't really know. I can only imagine that's true with being a diplomatic corps, because I was talking to a person that I know there during my last trip, and I was like, you can't really drink here. She was like, no, you can drink here. I was like, where? How? And I heard about this before. She's like, well, if you go to the embassy quarter, the diplomatic quarter, where all the embassies are, there's always parties at the embassies, and the embassies all have alcohol because they bring them in their diplomatic bags. And that's also true for people that live in compounds. Like in Saudi Arabia, there are these things called compounds where they're cordoned off. And if you happen to watch that movie, The Kingdom, with Jamie Foxx years ago, where they had the terrorists blew up this ambulance in a compound, that's a compound. Walled off part of the city that only foreigners live. And you have to go through a checkpoint to get in and out. Saudis are not allowed, or I think they can be allowed if they can enter if they're invited. They cannot wear thobes, the traditional white robe. Those are illegal to wear inside the compounds. And I don't know if that's really a rule that's developed by the compound people or more by the Saudi government. But those are not allowed within compounds and embassy premises, they do have alcohol. So I can only surmise that they would have other things like marijuana. Like, I'm sure American embassy people must have it. despite it being a federal holding and federal law, it's still illegal under federal law. I don't know, but can't tell us what to do. Something like that. Well, interesting enough, that is changing. Like a lot of those strictures, like I don't know where you are located, but from my experience going there over the last 3 years or so, so I started going to Saudi in September of 2018. And this was when I arrived in Saudi, they had already defanged the religious police, the Mukin. And like actually my friend was showing me as we're driving around one day, he was like, there's the Mukin. They were sitting in their cars. And I said, well, they're just sitting in their cars because they can't do anything. They can't pull people over anymore. They totally took away all their powers. And that was the last time I noticed the Mukin. I don't even know if they're still in existence today. But a lot of those strictures that they had when I started going, especially compared to now when I was just there last month or in December, it's such a changing, different. Okay, for Arizona, it's such a changing society. Like you always hear about one of the big things you always hear about is how women are kept separate from men. And when I started going, it was still like that. Like you would go to places and pretty much any place, like for example, you go to a restaurant or cafe, there was always 2 sections. One called the single section, one called the family section. So if you were married with your woman and your family, you could sit in the family section. But if you were single or you were married but not with your family or your wife, you only could enter the single section. And I always thought that was kind of an interesting way to do it. Like, it seems, but that's all gone now. Like, that's not even in existence. Like, you'll see like we went to this one shawarma place, Mama Noura, which is one of the more famous shawarma places. And they still had the sign up for the family section over one of the doors. But once you walked in, there was no separation at all. Everybody's just kind of sitting around. And the restrictions on even like clothing has been dramatically reduced. Like when I first started going, women had to cover themselves with the abaya and the hijab and the niqab. And so the full headdress. Foreign women had to wear the abaya. They didn't have to cover their heads, but they had to wear the abaya over their clothes. As we would go over the years, that would be eroded. And now foreign women don't have to wear an abaya at all. Saudi women can choose not to. Most still do, but there's a lot of progressiveness happening in Saudi Arabia. And it's, even for someone like myself that's Western and like a casual visitor there, it's shocking. It's like, it's super rapid. It's like super rapid. Brent says, one more day before the weekend, going to bed. Oh, I'm glad. Thanks for tuning in. All right, I guess we should look here. We're going to say that we're probably like, I think we've probably lost a little bit in the last one. 825. Body's still the same. Burn and draw, I would say burn was good. I'd say 8.5. Consistency was probably 7.75. Overall, 7.75. All right, now let's calculate. I'm not getting enough sunlight. All right, let's calculate up our scores here for the cigar tonight. 8.775, 8.25, 8.25, 8.5 plus 8. That gives us a total of 81. But we also had a -1, so we have 80. So yeah, there's my score. I got 80 points. Right there, 80 points total score. 10 points lower than most. Brian says, go stick around for the buy it again. So would I buy it again? Yeah, maybe. I think I probably would. I mean, it was good enough that I'd want to try it again. I wouldn't be against trying again. I don't know if I'd run out and buy one right away. So that's it. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, 3 minutes more. All right, so I still have to go help my father with something tonight, so I should run as well. So thank you very much. I appreciate you guys being with us. Next week we'll be back again on Thursday night, 8 p.m. with another episode. Next week is the Just Some Crawl FTDA. And then the week after is the Dapper La Madrina Toro. We're going to be smoking those two over the next 2 weeks. I don't have anything yet for the following weeks after that, so I'll get that done with the next week or so. But I want to thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate you spending the time with me again on another Thursday night. I hope you enjoy the week and have some good cigars while we're at it. And maybe catch some of the Olympics. It's going to be on for the next 2 weeks. I don't know if it's going to get cold again. We might get cold. All right, Brian, have a good one. Thank you all. I appreciate you spending. Have a great night out there. All right. See you next time.